So, yay, money shadows. This is like one of these massive, annoying, hi Dalida, one of these massive, super annoying shadows that can kind of, hi Juliana, that can kind of stop your entire life from moving forward. So Lorna says that the biggest shadows we have are coded around money and love relationships. And I totally agree. I totally agree. It's like in the past, I spent like 20 years doing codependence counseling, which is all about relationships. And I can totally see the shadows there. And this is something I'm going to come back to at another time. But it's, I just saw the message from you, Melody. Congratulations on having joined the Shadow Alchemy Bootcamp, Melody. Way! There's somebody who's ready to change their life for good. So the thing about money is, it's like you want to work on all your shadows, right? Because, well, I'm going to assume, I actually don't know if that's a truth, but I'm going to assume that you want a shadow free life. I was like, just this, a whole life without shadow. And somebody told me so beautifully the other day, hi, Hulda, hi, when I was talking to her, that it wasn't really so much about business for her or, relationship, but just that she wanted to die without shadows. And I think, this is so beautiful. I mean, if this is the only thing we achieve throughout our life, to get rid of all our shadows so they are not there next time around. Yeah. Okay. Chiara. You have to be grateful, constantly grateful. And if I'm not grateful, no money will ever come my way. For fuck's sake. Talk about heavily programmed to law of attraction. Totally. Totally, totally, totally. So I just decided that we were going to talk about money shadows here. And I didn't really prepare anything. I have your questions. We'll just see where it goes. But the reason why we need to deal with the money shadows first is because that keeps you from investing more money in yourself so that you can work on more shadows and more shadows and more shadows. And for those of you who don't know my story, it like took me like 30 years to get rid of enough money shadows, and I could only do that with shadow alchemy before I actually even started making like more than just enough to survive, or sometimes less than enough to survive. So I don't want you guys to take 30 years to get this straight. So what we're talking about when we're talking about with the money shadows is, in terms of the archetype channels. So you have the prostitute lover, which is all about worth and value and standards. It's a child sovereign channel, which is all about responsibility, standing in your power. It's like your authority, knowing what you know, and truth telling. And there's the victim warrior, which is all to do with your power, taking a stand for yourself and setting boundaries. And the saboteur magician channel, which is a channel for the mental energies, like thinking things through versus letting magic happen. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the shadow shows up in the different channels around money. And then, we're just going to see where it goes. Just comment, ask away, comment, whatever. So the whole problem, and it sucks, right? It sucks that we're so deeply programmed. Yeah, hello. I don't even know how to say your name. Muy Rudy. Muy Rudy. Interesting name. Is that we have been so programmed that if other people won't approve of us, that means we're going to die or something terrible is happening. And that means we have to, like kind of, it's people pleasing, right? Because you have to make sure you get other people's approval. But it's really about changing yourself and who you are and how you express your truth and what truths you express to get other people's approval. So how that shows up when it comes to money is if you have your business, it's like, oh, what are people gonna think if I charge a lot of money for my programs or my services? So it's like undercharging. It could also be, and these are all shadows I've been around myself. I've experienced every single shadow in the book around money. Um, is that if I get a lot of money, because this is really what we're working towards, right? If I get rich and I get wealthy and have a lot of money, then people are not gonna want to be around me anymore. They are gonna be offended. They are gonna be, you know, judge me for being too materialistic, which is a big one when you're a spiritual person and hanging out with other spiritual people. It's going to be greedy. It's going to be, how dare I think I'm somebody special that can charge this much money or have this much money? Who am I to think that I deserve this much money? There is, what was the other thing? Anyway, it all comes back to, if you have a lot of money, you are going to be rejected. And it's a big one. It's a big one. It's a big one. So the other one is like, do you deserve it? I mentioned this before. Like, do you actually deserve to have a lot of money? How much money do you deserve to have? And like Kiara says, well, maybe you should just go ahead and be grateful for what you have, because this might be as good as it gets. You might not deserve more, so you might as well settle for what you have. So the the shadow here is around, it's not about deserving. Yes, who are you to think you can charge this much money, right? Who are you to think that? Who do you think you are? I mean, come on, who do you think you are? You're going to charge that much money for something? It's all, the internalized voices of somebody else. And, to protect yourself from that criticism and critique, you're making a lot of money. So, with all this, oh, and I was talking about deserving is also, who decides what you deserve? I mean, who really decides what you deserve? Who decides what you're worth? Who decides what your value is? And so I want to take this up to the truth, not the shadows. The shadows feel like truth. Shadows always feel like the truth, but that doesn't mean it is, because it isn't. It isn't. It totally isn't. Shadow is always a lie, no matter how true it feels. So the actual truth is, you are the one who decide how much money you deserve. Yes, and I have to be grateful now and then not want anything else. And if I do, that it will just come, but only if I'm grateful. Yeah, kill me now, right? You see how ridiculous it is. And the problem is not with the gratefulness, right? Because sure, I'm grateful with all the money I have, but it's the way it's taught is that it becomes a way of settling. I should be grateful for what I have and not ask for more. But you can be grateful for what you have and still want more. But ooh, that's greed, isn't it? That's being greedy. And who are you for daring to want more than everybody else? What makes you so special that you should have more than somebody else? Well, it's like, I gotta tell you, Shadow is so unimaginative, it's repetitive, it's illogical, it's hilarious. So the only one actually who decides what you deserve is you. And you have the power to decide your own worth and value, and nobody else does. Nobody else knows you as well as you do, and therefore you're the only one who can actually decide on your value and worth. And so when we look, into the lover, it becomes all about your standards for living. And one standard that has helped me a lot with busting my shadows around this part with people's approval, if I'm going to make a lot of money, and vice versa. It's like also, what if I try really hard to build a successful business and I'm a failure? What if I launch a program and nobody buys? What if I, have the service and nobody buys? I'm a massive failure. And people are going to judge me for that. They say, I don't want you because you're a failure. So again, it's like a, catch 22. If you're too successful, if you're successful, you're going to be rejected. If you're a failure, you're going to be rejected. It's like, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you're caught between those two? And both of them feel equally true. So shadow really gets you with the feelings, right? The feelings is what makes you believe it's true. Um, so the standards, and this is where the prostitute lover channel is what I'm talking about, is your heart. This is this is what you love, right? It's about what you love. And it's not necessarily about loving money. It's like I happen to love money. It took me a long time before I could allow myself to love money because my shadow said, I'm a spiritual person. It is shameful to love money. And listen to how crazy it is. Listen to how crazy it is. Because as a spiritual person, I should reject money, but then I should also want money because this is a new spirituality with the law of attraction. But I had to make sure I didn't get the money because that would make me seem greedy and materialistic. So it's like this crazy mindfuck that we get into about money. It's like, because other spiritual people will actually judge us if we get the money that we are supposed to pretend that we don't want, but then on top of that, pretend that we do want. But, watch out. If you actually really get it, you're going to have people attack you. Yeah, so you're getting it. It's like so crazy, so crazy. So hands up if you love money. And if you don't, there you have a shadow to look at for sure. So money means absolutely nothing except it gives you a lot more choices in life. It makes your life a whole lot more convenient. That's all money means. Okay, so back to standards, because standards is really about choosing to not let anybody's approval have an effect of your choices and behaviors. Yes, Melody loves money. Yay. So this is, right? And I really, 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 Kiara too. I love money. Yes. I want to hear it loud from everybody. Aha, Suyon. So you say, I love what money allows me to experience. So you have a shadow. You're still not allowing yourself to love money just for what it is. So think about that one. Standards. So what made me, there's a lot of things that are much more important than money. Um, and Lorna was just writing a comment that until you learn to love money also and make it important, there's still shadow around it. And there's a lot more things that are more important too, much more important than money. And money is something I absolutely love having a lot of. Does this answer your questions, Juliana? Otherwise, ask again. Standard. So what helped me shift out of this one, yes, now you're getting there, Dalida, Mancha, is that I just decided as an inflexible standard in my life that I would not base my actions and my life choices and what my life looked like about on fear of other people's approval. Okay, so it goes like this. And if you have any familiarity with the Shadow Alchemy tool, if you don't, there's a Shadow Alchemy bootcamp, which I'm really going into it. um, it's like I'm going to allow myself, I will make as much money as I want to, and I will not, I will not make other people's opinions matter. And I don't care if everybody in the world is going to reject me and abandon me, because I still want to make a lot of money. And I decide my value, and I decide my worth, and I decide how much money I want in my life. And if that costs me everybody's company, so be it. You know? And this was where I really started working on my money shadows, because it was like, oh my God, it's like I have put myself so low in, my prices for my programs and my, my values around that. And it's like made sure that there was sort of like fit into my whole light worker community, spiritual people community. I was like, immediately, it's like at the time I was doing this, I couldn't even sell a program for $100. For $100, I could not sell a program. I went through all these shadows, especially around this. It's like I will charge as much money as I feel this is truly worth. And if everybody else leaves me, that's fine too. And shortly after, within a few weeks, even, it's like I had a lot of shadow around this. It's like I made my first $6,000 sale. I was like, I never even made well, I had twice in my life made $6,000 months. Twice in my 30 years of being a spiritual entrepreneur, I made one sale for 6,000. Don't people have to like you because money comes from people? Melody. Sure. I mean, if they don't like you, they won't give you the money. And are you sure that the only way to make them like you is to keep prices really low and be grateful? Because my experience has been the exact opposite. People like you more when you model um, a different new future for them, which is really what they desire for themselves. They don't like you for lowering yourself to their level. They like you for rising up and showing what's possible for them too. That's when they really like you. And you might lose some people along the way, but that's okay too. If they only want your shadow self, why would you want them in your life? So then there is the child sovereign channel. Okay, so around the lover, it's like the most important shadow to alchemize here is that it matters what other people think about you. It matters whether people approve of you or not. Yes, Emily, of course. Isn't that what you find? It's like when somebody respect themselves and hold themselves in the value that they believe they are, then you respect them, right? So Chiara said, if they only like my shadow self, why would I want them in my life? Exactly. Yes, for sure. And then you will attract the right clients to you. Still working on that. It is happening, but slowly. And I have no doubt this freaking piece about the heart slug of gratitude is taking over. Yes. Okay, so Chiara, I'm going to give you homework. You are not allowed to feel grateful for what you have any longer, because what you have is not at all what you want. It's everything. Your life is what you don't want it to be. So why should you be grateful for it? If this is not how you want it, why should you be grateful for it? Okay? So this is your homework, get out of this whole gratitude thing until you actually begin to create results that reflect your true desires. Bah, ha, 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 ha. You're funny, Chiara. Do you say Chiara or Chiara? Chiara. That's how I would say in Italian. Chiara. Yes, Emily, you're not allowed to feel grateful for if your life is not the way you want it. Why should you feel grateful for something you don't want? Why should you feel grateful for having somebody give you $200 when what you really want is 20,000? Yeah, this is, and this is where, I mean, this is the thing I hate about the gratefulness movement, is because gratefulness teaches you to lower your standards and be happy with what you have, except for saying, no, this is not acceptable. This is not what I want in my life. I want this, and until I get there, I'm not going to settle for anything less than that. And this is a really, really, really big key here, is to not settle for anything less than your true desires fulfilled completely. And this was a massive shift for me because I had these goals, and I had these dreams, and I had these visions, and I consistently allowed myself to settle for something less and be grateful for it, right? I it's like the moment you decide to settle for anything less than your true desires, you're betraying yourself. You are abandoning yourself. And this is one of these big things that also has to do. It's like it kind of looks like I'll have to do a live stream on every single channel here. But part of the prostitute lover channel is standing, not abandoning yourself. It's a channel of belonging. This is what people's approval is all about. It's belonging. So the prostitute says is, I will abandon myself and my dreams, and I will abandon everything of my life as long as I can get other people to approve of me. And the lover says, I will never abandon myself, no matter whether nobody in the world is ever going to approve of me ever again. I will never abandon myself. Yeah, exactly, Emily. It could be worse. People are starving, so of course you should be grateful. Dalida, yes. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so, and this is a part of the prostitute lover channel because it is about worth and value. It's about what are the price you're willing to pay for this. Uh, so in the past, when I have been dealing with my money shadows, it's like it was always about me, of course, not making enough money, not making enough sales, da di da di da. And one of the ways I could shift it, I mean, granted, it was shadow management, so it wasn't shadow alchemy, but the point is valid because I realized I am not willing to pay the price of being poor. What's the price I have to pay for never making as much money as I want to? What is it going to cost me that I never make as much money as I want to? What's the price I'm paying for that? And I got to, no, I'm not willing to pay that price. I'm not willing to pay this price, that I would have to pay, like missing out of things I wanted to do, not having money to invest in myself, not being able to going on trips, not having money to feed myself, not having money for rent, not having money for clothes. It's like, no, I wasn't willing to, pay that price of not having money for any of it just because, whatever. And And just realizing that I was not willing to pay that price was sort of, in a negative sense, it's like that allowed me to open up to make money come in again. Because, suddenly I raised my standards and said, no, I'm not willing to pay this price. I'm not going to do this. I will make this money because I'm not willing to pay this price. But when you flip it around to the positive, because the lover is very much about the sacrifice, um, because what are you willing to sacrifice to get what you want? So the lover is always willing to sacrifice other people's approval and only live for your own approval. And this to me is kind of the biggest change of heart. It's like really, really getting your standards to a place where you say, this is what I want, and I'm not willing to accept anything less than this, and I don't care what I have to do to get it. I will do it no matter what. And if I end up being all alone, by myself, nobody ever loving me or talking to me or whatever, then be it. I will not abandon myself and my desires for how I want my life to be. Yes, only live for your own approval. Never, ever, ever abandon yourself. And one of my biggest money issues, money shadows that has come up, that was like the last big one that came up a couple of months ago, is that I had success over here and I had, myself here. And I had to choose between them. If I wanted success, I had to abandon myself. If I wanted to stand by myself, I had to abandon success. And that meant I kept going back and forth. It's like I really didn't believe that I could have success. So I had to choose between me and success. And that got me to on this roller coaster that sometimes I had success and sometimes I had me, you know, my shadow thought. But, success, if I had too much success, then I felt I had to abandon myself. So I let go of the success. And then it's like, oh, no, no, that's my dream. I'm not willing to settle for anything less than having the amount of money I want, the business success. And then, I wouldn't want to abandon this. And then, the success builds up, and then I get fear, okay, then I have to abandon myself if I want more success. So this one, I believe, is one that is at the core of many people's struggle with success because they have to choose between themselves and success. Between themselves and success, get it into camera range here. And of course, obviously it's not true, but the way I dealt with it, because I just realized this is a shadow that has to be alchemized. And I had to take it in 2 steps, actually. I had to take it in 2 steps. So first I had to decide, yes, listen carefully, Emily, because I'm going to tell you how you're going to get out of this one now. That first of all, I had to start with, putting my standards. I will never, ever, ever abandon myself again, no matter what. I will never abandon myself again, no matter what price I have to pay for it. I will never abandon myself again, and I will do whatever it takes. I will pay whatever price, I will make whatever sacrifice, and I will never abandon myself again. And I didn't care if I was going to be homeless on the street or, because beyond everything else in your life, you have to start with not being willing to abandon yourself. And once I had that down, hi Hannah, once I had that down, I could then go, I was like, but wait a minute, if I drop, abandon my desire for business success and money, then I'm actually also abandoning myself, right? So by abandoning, like for settling for anything less than my business dreams, my business success, my, my money desires coming true, I would also abandon myself. So then it became, I will never abandon my business success or my business dreams. I will never settle for anything less in terms of how much money I want because I'm not willing to abandon myself and this is what I want. And if I drop that desire, I'm going to abandon myself again. But I had to take it in two steps, right? So first, never abandon myself and then add all the other things on it because if I settle for anything less when I truly desire in life, I'm abandoning myself too. Okay, so let me see here. What if big money doesn't make me happy? What if this is what I really want? So, Su Yan, when you say, what if big money doesn't make me happy? What if this isn't really what I want? So, in this sentence, you take away, you give the power over your happiness to money, right? It's like suddenly the power over whether you're happy or not resides with money rather than with you. Yeah, this is what you want, Kiara. You want to make a shit ton of money so you can invest it too. I'm having a hard time breathing over here. It's great. It's awesome. Um, so, Suyan, it's like you're giving the power over your happiness to money. And this is not, it's like that's your way of abandoning yourself, right? It's like I abandon the power over myself. I abandon the power over my life and to I give it to money so that money can have all the power over my happiness. And that's what shadow says, right? This is what shadow says, and it feels true. But the actual truth is the only person who has any, or the only thing that has power over your happiness is you. And that has nothing to do with the amount of money you have. So I will go to the way of saying, it's like I have the power over my happiness, no matter what happens in my life, whether I have money or no money. I can choose to be happy or I can choose not to be happy. The power is totally with me. And I'm not willing to give away the power over my happiness to nobody and to nothing, to no thing. You see how that works? Okay. Alexandra says, never having enough or actually just having enough. Now, this ties into the victim warrior, for those who knows it. It has to do with supply, like a limited supply of money. Like you believe, and it's so funny because I was just working on this particular shadow this morning because I knew with becoming a Locke Scotland consultant, I have to massively expand my money field. So Alexandra, you talk about never having enough, actually having just enough. It comes out of the belief that money is in limited supply. And what I was working with this morning was this exact shadow, or actually not this morning, earlier today. It's like it might not be in limited supply to other people, but for me, it was definitely in limited supply. And it really felt like a prison. It felt like a prison. And for me, it was all about taking responsibility for big money because I'd never done that before. So it's like the fear of I would have to step up to a different level of responsibility, which is the sovereign, and the shadow says, oh, but that will take my freedom away. Yeah? Very, very common shadow around money is if you make a lot of money, you lose your freedom, which is the child. And then it comes back to the lover saying, well, I decide how money shows up in my life. And I decide how my life is going to look when I have a lot of money. And if I don't want to give up my freedom, I won't, because that's my choice. And I'm never giving the power over my life choices away to anybody or anything, including how much money I have. Hi, Vala. So, Alexandra, if you're here watching it, just keep asking. Um, Marcia, I can't make it with what I do. People are not willing to pay for my services. Not many enough of them anyway. So this is, yes, Kathleen, and that's totally the child. I want to play. And actually, I want to share another big of my business shadows here and money shadows, which has to do with the child sovereign channel. Because I realized, and I've shared it before, but for those who haven't heard it, I realized that I had treated my business since the beginning when I started in 1991 like my toy box. So it's like it's very easy for me to, make money when I have like a program to launch. Well, not all the time, but that's much easier. It's like because it's like I have this like shiny new bright toy. Don't you want to come and share it? It's like come in. But there was no consistency. It's like once I shared my toy, it's like everything, my business pretty much died. So it's all about, yeah, look at my toy, look at my toy. And I realized that I had done that for all the 30 years of my life. And I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified. And I was like bawling my eyes out. I mean, tears were pouring down my eyes at the realization that I had never really taken full responsibility for my business. It's just been my toy box. I've been a total child around it. Yeah, yeah, you want to play. And what you want to realize here is that, because the shadow says if you have a lot of money, you lose all your freedom to play. And you take it back to the lover who sets the standards and says, I decide whether money is going to take away my freedom to play or not. It's my power to choose what my life looks like, no matter how much money I have. Yeah, this is so amazing you're realizing this, Rebecca. And the fact that you feel like throwing up, you are totally digging into some really big shadow here, just like Kiara when she's blowing up her computer or whatever it was that happened. Yep, yep, this is exactly it. Yep. And I didn't have another person, but it's like I was playing with my toys, like never really showing up as a responsible adult. Okay, people are not willing to pay for my services. So this is all about the prostitute mantra. Yeah, you got it, Emily. You decide what your life looks like with this money. Not the money itself. You decide. You decide. So nobody's going to want to buy anything for me, from me. And this is what, when you have that belief, is that you are making people's decision for them. How do you know if they want to buy it or not? You have already decided. And this is kind of projecting the past onto the present and projecting the past onto the future, because if people haven't bought in the past, you just project it onto the future, and your present too. And this is a saboteur channel who works with the saboteur magician channel that works with time, where you project the past onto the future. And here's actually a very interesting distinction between the shadow and the light power archetypes. It's like the shadow archetypes are moving forward, but always looking in the rear view mirror. So while you're moving forward in life in shadow, your gaze is always turned to what happens in the past, and then you take what happens in the past and put it in the present and put it in the future too. So when you are living your life according to shadow, which is so important about money, because you want to create a brand new reality. It's like you can only recreate different versions of the past. This is all shadow knows how to do, create a different version of the past. But you want to break through of the past completely and really step into a brand new money future, right? It's like where there's nothing holding you back, just brand new money future. And it starts with the decision that I'm not going to abandon myself, and I'm not going to abandon my own desire for having a lot of money. And I don't care what it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm willing to do whatever self. I'm willing to offend people. I'm willing to take risks. I'm willing to look like a fool. I'm willing to fail. All these things, you have to be willing to do them. It doesn't mean you will be doing them. You may not, but you have to be absolutely willing to pay the price. So let's talk about actions, because it's very hard to create a business if you're not taking massive amounts of action. And some of these actions will have to be absolutely terrifying. So the actions you take, all the actions you take are going to do one of two things. They're either going to expose your shadows, or they are going to roll out the red carpet for your clients to walk to you. So I have been in one-on-one container with Lorna, and I've been in one-on-one container with Sonika and Naveed. And with both of them, or in either of these containers, I stopped making money pretty much like the minute I stepped into those containers with them. And you go like, why am I paying like $10,000 a month for being in these containers, and I end up not making any money at all? Because it exposed all my really, really, really deep money shadows. Really, really, really deep money shadows. And that was the only way to get them up, by me going all the way in and investing this much money just because it felt right to do it. And here I am today because I did this. The things that I dreamed of, it's like it couldn't be any better, right? Because I went all the way. I make money, invested them in, exposing and alchemizing my shadows, made more money, invested them back in, etc. Okay, Chiara says, I'm willing because I desire vast wealth. Yes, I want to be stinking rich, so I'm willing and so ready to smash through all the things. Hell, I'm terrified already, and we only dipped into gratitude. Yeah, you get it. You put an end to you playing small, because it's really stepping into a presence of so much authority and power that you become irresistible to your clients. And with that presence and power, when you own that, you know that your work is worth like really high prices, because you know you can create changes for your clients. And because you stand in your presence and your power, people can feel that. I mean, why would people give money to somebody who is not in their power? Like, what? Which is a sovereign, right? So why would no? That actually is like the sovereign power. Yeah, the power is normally the victim, the warrior, but in this case, standing in your powerful presence of knowing what you know. Yeah, it's like that's the person you want to give money to, and give a lot of money to, because they have that presence and authority, because they are experts. Whereas somebody who is like in the child shadow, it's like they don't want to step into the full authority, holding back with the prostitute. What if people don't like me? Why would you ever give money to such a person? Right? You don't trust them to provide results for you. Yes, Emily, actions will either expose your shadow or roll out the red carpet for your clients to find you. Exactly. And that's a Lorna original. So I'm just repeating that. Um, okay. Let me see what else is here. So people are not willing to pay for my services. This is totally the prostitute. And the fear around it is if I charge what I want, people are not going to come and buy from me. So you would rather abandon yourself and hold yourself back for fear of failure, fear of disapproval, and then, stand by yourself. So this is really about, not abandoning yourself for fear of failure. Manja. Hannah, I will have too many options if I have lots of money. Yes. And so what? What does it matter if you have lots of money? If you have a lot more choices, if you have a lot more money. This is like the victim, right? It's like feeling overwhelmed. And choices are only overwhelming if you don't know exactly what you want, which is the prostitute lover channel, and if you don't know exactly who you are and take responsibility for exactly what you want, which is the child sovereign channel. And when you know exactly who you are and exactly what you want, choices are not overwhelming. They're only overwhelming as long as you're in the prostitute and the child. Hulda, it doesn't matter if I work hard enough, I will not get much money from it anyway. It doesn't matter. So, so you give up before you even try. Yeah, prostitute and yeah, prostitute, saboteur, child is in there. Not owning that you know what you know. That's the that's a sovereign. So, what was it again? Hulda says, it doesn't matter if I work hard enough, I will not get much money from it anyway. It doesn't even matter. So, what is happening with this is it doesn't matter because I will never succeed. It's like you have given up. You have given up, you have totally abandoned yourself and your desires, and you have said, oh, it's too hard work. I'm not willing to do what it takes. It's basically what it says. This is what I want, but I'm actually not willing to do what it takes. This is a child, right? It's like the child has the entitlement program. I should get something for nothing. It should be easy. And anybody who has ever created a successful business knows it requires consistent efforts. Not struggle, but efforts, actions. And a lot of them going outside your comfort zone. But it's not worth it, right? This is what the shadow tells because shadow shadow is all about keeping you away from the scary places. It wants to keep you safe from a distorted point of view what safety means. Just like shadow says, as a prostitute says, um, other people's approval matters, and I should be very afraid whether people approve of me or not, because I could die if I don't get their approval. Consistent effort, not struggle. Gitte, how do I not be grateful? Do I actually say I'm not grateful? How do I become anti gratitude? I'm just realizing how 14 years of powerful gratitude practice, saying my happy and grateful daily, and being okay with not having exactly what I want, and still saying thank you has been deep. Yeah, has deep roots. Yes, it does. It is really about honesty. It's really about being honest with yourself. It's like, you know what? This is actually not what I want my life to be like. So I might be happy with what I have, but this is not okay. This is not enough. And I'm not going to be grateful for something that is totally not up to my standards for my life. So it's about honesty. It's like you have to break this habit. So every time you're going to, oh, I'm so, I'm grateful for this, you go, no, wait a minute. Actually, I'm not grateful for this because this is not at all how I want it to be. Does that make sense? So it's just remind yourself of the actual truth, because a gratitude is a veneer of a lie over what the actual truth is, that you're dissatisfied.